Sweet, sweet Dr. P. Comment below if you love that sweet nectar. Today on Taking a Test Drive, I am going into the house of Montale Ristretto Intense Cafe. Let's say the official flanker of Intense Cafe. Only one question remains. Did Montale finally release the coffee that all the coffee lovers wanted from the original Intense Cafe? I've heard you. I heard you. You were saying too much rose in the original. Did they tone it down in the flanker? Well, you'll figure out coming up next. What's going on, Fragrance family? Welcome to another episode of Taking a Test Drive. This is where I test drive a scent, a sample, prior to purchasing or forgetting about it. Sometimes I double back and go check out another sample, but that's fairly rare. I wear them from 1 to 2 wearings depending on the sample size and let you know my thoughts on these wearings. Before I get into the meat and potatoes, let's do a little bit of advert here. First and foremost, please take the time to subscribe down below, hit that bell, bing, so you can keep tabs on yours truly. I have a fragrance review on Versace Dylan Blue coming up next. You guys don't want to miss that one, so hit that bell. I'm also all over social media. I'm on Twitter, I'm on Facebook, I'm also on Instagram. My, of course, handle is the same as my YouTube channel, Robes08, talking about social media, Facebook. I have a Facebook page that you can follow yours truly, but also I have a Facebook group, one of the biggest Facebook groups on fragrances. It's called Fragrance Guru Nation, where myself and 17,200 other members waiting for you to come join us. You got a Facebook account, what are you waiting for? We talk about fragrances. You can buy, sell, swap, talk about our fragrance community. New reviewers post their stuff on there, so it's a really great tool to bring up your knowledge in the fragrance game. Now on to today's video, kind of exciting. Intense Cafe, the originator, I don't have a bottle of, I've smelt it. I felt it was too rose-centric. There's two real groups with Intense Cafe. Some people absolutely love that stuff, and then there's ones that I'm in the pile of. I still think Intense Cafe is decent, but I wanted more coffee than rose, and I felt it was a little more rose-centric. So today, as the title suggests, I'm taking a test drive at Ristretto Intense Cafe. This is an extrait de parfum, not a EDP. So very interesting. Montale, you're up to bat. Let's go. Now let's take a look under the hood for some stats on this one. Release date was fairly new, 2019. Concentration, like I said, is an extrait de parfum. The rose behind this fragrance, Montale Mancera. You're not fooling us with fictional character Pierre Mancera, Pierre Montale. Who are you, fictional character? Major notes to my nose on this particular fragrance. Coffee. Yeah, I said coffee. I love coffee. Where's my coffee? Look at this. I got my sweet Tim Hortons mug. It almost has like a little rubber puck at the bottom. Yeah, I'm coffeeing up while I'm doing this review. Don't hate. It also has rose, so that rose comes back and the vanilla comes back. So we'll see how it is. Now, Intense Cafe, we all know, I'm going to get rid of this. Intense Cafe, we all know the complaints was too much rose, not enough coffee. Did they release this to appease us? Let's see how much coffee I get here. So this fragrance right here's my scent of the day today. I got the backbone of this particular fragrance on here. I've drained pretty much my sample, but I could still spray it on the back of my hand to remind me of this introduction. So let's do that. 1, 2, 1 for the community. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Drained. See you later. Now, my day with the scent. The opening of Ristretto Intense Cafe shows me much more of a bulky coffee note. Where were you in the originator? Very bulky, which is very much appreciated by this guy right here. I love my coffee scents, and when you put coffee in the name, you better come correct. There are some great coffee-based fragrances. If you're watching this and you haven't heard of the brand Kerosene, he used to be a fragrance reviewer with us. His fragrance called Follow, best coffee-based fragrance on the market, bar none right now from this nose. So let's move on back to this set. Now the coffee in the opening is your strong main accord here, which is good. It gives nice depth to the scent, and it smells of lightly roasted coffee beans straight up. Then it flips it on you. it kind of changes more into a latte section of the game, which has more of a milky consistency with some vanillic sweetness to the fragrance, the longer it lingers on your skin. So it goes from straight up coffee, then goes to the latte direction. I'm not, it thins it out a little bit, which is fine. It doesn't give you that depth or that challenging coffee note. I don't like putting challenging and coffee in the same realm, but a milky latte is a lot less challenging than a hard ass espresso. You know what I mean? So it has it morphs a little bit on my skin here in the first few minutes of the fragrance. Now the rose is here, guys. So from the original Intense Cafe, the rose does take a backseat here in the introduction, but hold on to your seats. It will continue to grow to eventually be the main player in this fragrance. So to a lot of you out there that didn't like the rose at all in the original, she's there. She's still here, but she's going to be a little thinned out in the opening, but she's going to come out and be your main player down the stretch. I like that the rose was slowly appearing more and more in this instead of being an immediate impact player in the original Intense Cafe. So I like that. It almost feels like they put an extra stage on top. They're like, oh, they want coffee. Let's put coffee on top, and then the original Intense Cafe in the back end of this fragrance. So does it move more than the original? Yes. It has more layers, I'll say, and they've amped up the note that everybody wanted them to amp up. But sadly, once I get more into the dry down here, you're going to see there's a little less coffee action here. Now let's talk about the heart and the deep dry down of this fragrance, and just want to remind me, yeah, rose, vanilla. So once we get into the heart of this fragrance, it's plain as day that Ristretto is a three-headed monster of coffee, rose, and vanilla. As some may state, Intense Cafe was more vanillic and rose than anything, and this will be often compared to it. It is a flanker to it, and it seems they put a stronger splash of coffee up top, but dries down to a similar theme, like I said earlier in this video. Now the rose picks up more steam here in the deeper dry down, starts blending more into the coffee note as a side-by-side player. The rose is your typical Montale rose, nothing too authentic, too great, just kind of rosy. I'm not a huge fan of their rose, to be quite honest. It's mid-tier where, the price tag fits, I would say, and it shows a mildly powdery take to the rose here in the heart to the deep dry down. Now into the deeper dry down, you start losing your coffee note. You start losing it, you're like, no, stay buddy, come here. And the vanilla and rose amp up a little more. At this point, the rose is your main player now. It just kind of, coffee's like up here, rose is here. They start going like this, more in the heart, and then the rose just boom, coffee starts mellowing out. It's still there, a little dark fog of coffee, but rose and vanilla is your main player here. To be quite honest, I rather enjoyed the introduction of this scent. Even in the heart transition, that the rose started coming through a little bit more, but after hour 5, 6, I felt I was just wearing a rosy vanillic Montale kind of stripped down concoction. To note, there's a darkened sweetness throughout the scent that many say it's caramel to them. I think it's in the note breakdown, but I'll be frank with you guys. I did not feel like a caramel latte type feel. I felt a latte feel, but I felt it didn't have, if it's caramel, it's not very authentic, to be quite honest. I didn't feel that caramel-like tone in this fragrance. It's a minor player. It's worthy of a mention because there's some darkness to it. There's a sweetness to it, but it's a note that didn't get much attention from yours truly when I was wearing it. Now, to the ones that felt Intense Cafe was too feminine, because you hear that in fragrance reviews, you see that in the comments below of some YouTubers. This is a tad less feminine, I would have to say. Again, I'm not huge on genders, but I feel like this one leans more unisex than the originator, I guess. It has more oomph to the fragrance, but I know a lot of women out there that like gourmands, and this is gonna be, still a go for them. Now let's get into the revolver, where I talk about seasons, day or night versatility, and of course performance, and then end this video with my nice little outro of what I really feel about this set right here. So let's start out with seasons. What seasons do I place this fragrance in? I would have to say this has some versatility to it. fall, like these type of fragrances, coffee-based gourmand fragrances, rose-based fragrances, these type of fragrances are tweeners. So fall and spring, of course, rose works well in the spring. I love that. Coffee-based fragrances, especially more into the dry down. The scent went really well in the spring. Fall, and of course a winter, day or night. I feel like this scent can be worn casually during the day, but more of a nighttime scent for me. A versatility, fairly average. Again, it doesn't really go big and bold like a lot of Montales do, and it's not as thin as I would think, of course, with some other fragrances that would be great for spring and summer. So would I dress this one up? You can, but it has a little too much playfulness for me. I don't really like wearing these type of scents when I'm dressing up. So that versatility kind of takes a little bit of a hit, but it's average. Performance, longevity was good, 8 to 10 hours with average projection. It sits closer to the skin, I felt like. I'm not comparing this one to the original, but as far as push on this fragrance, I felt like a lot of times when I was wearing it, it was, you know, hour 3 and 4 sits more close to the skin. So just keep that in mind. I didn't feel like this one was beast. So let's end this one as the outro. What do I think of this fragrance in a whole? And I'm going to give it, of course, a bottle rating, as I always do with these, of course, little samples. Let's go into it. This still has the rose like the originator. However, I felt instead of the rose being just the main player here, it kind of shares the spotlight with the coffee. So did they get it right this time around? Well, let's look at some things. This is an extrait de parfum instead of the eau de parfum. The cost is a little more for this release. That extra splash of coffee is worth the extra bucks for me. Personally, like, I didn't buy the original, and I feel like I may skip the original and just get this one. For me, that's my taste. I really like that extra splash. Don't expect this to be one of Montale's that strays away from the original DNA. It still has that Montale-esque feeling. I know that there's some Montales out there to really change, you know, like Oud Cuir d'Arabie, totally different Montale than a lot of Montales out there. This has that typical Montale feel because of that typical rose. And I felt the deeper that I go into this fragrance, more into the dry down, the scent loses me more once it loses more of the coffee. So now, if I had to give this a score currently on my rating scale from 1 to 10, 10 being high, on my scale, I'm going to give it an 8. I feel like that's a little high. I feel like maybe it's a high 7. Again, maybe I should put decimal points on my reviews, but I feel like 8 bottles, a high 7 is where this one would rate. I think there's definitely 100% there's better coffee-based scents out there if you're looking for that type of fix. But as a Montale as a whole, I feel like this is a solid release from them. Not a upscale like an Oud Cuir d'Arabie, that's totally different out there than a lot of Montale releases, and of course releases in the niche game. I still need to review that fragrance. It's a great fragrance, but 8 out of 10. I feel like I'm a little high, but I'm gonna give it that 8. I'll give it its just due. I feel like this one's what Intense Cafe should have been. You know, you could still hype it up a little bit more. I wish I was the volume guy on coffee and rose. I'd go rose and coffee bruh. That's me. So now that you know my take on this particular fragrance, I'd love to hear your take. You know, do you love the original? Do you hate the original? Was this better? Good, bad, and the ugly. I'd love to hear your take on this sample. This may be a purchase for me. It may be. I'm on the cusp. I'm like, do I really want this? Or, you know, I'm really lukewarm on this release, and this sample did not sell me or lose me. So I'm still on the cusp kind of on this one. So I'd love to hear your take on the comments below. I'm going to keep an eye on the comments below. And as always, a great or poor fragrance will make a lasting impression. Choose your coffee-based scent wisely. Thanks for watching, YouTube. Have a good one.